Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of The Repositioning Expert. Welcome you to another live edition of my live stream. I was going to say podcast, but no more. The Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. So let me take a sip. Oh, she's hot. All right. So after being at 2 events last week and having 5 prepared speeches, one was at the Envision Summit, which is the annual small business development summit for my sponsors, Capital One with Allison QB, where we held a private pre-event executive roundtable where I did a presentation. And then the day after, I flew down to Florida, Orlando at the Disney Boardwalk Inn, where we had a conference. We had a pre-conference event where we organized an executive roundtable privately for a handful of CEOs. And then I was was fortunate enough to be the keynote at the actual conference, and then had 2 roundtable table topics around business development for the small business owners that were there. So one of the questions that really stuck with me, because basically the biggest thing that I do in my marketing strategies, the first thing we do is find a differentiator. So this question came from a woman who owned a printing company. And what was interesting is she was very, transparent about it. She was very brave about it. She stood up in a whole room full of other businesses and said, what if our secret sauce, our differentiator is losing us money? And she explained that she had, most of the time, her biggest differentiator was custom work that no other printer would be willing to do or able to do, and that they had purchased this equipment to be able to do that. And that was their biggest claim to fame, but it was losing them money. And yet, and so what I told her is, I'll talk to you offline, let's schedule a call to talk about a differentiator, because there's a lot to look at, and we'll talk about that. Now, what was very interesting is, by coincidence, we happened to be at a very large oil company's roundtable. And she introduced herself, and the person from the company stopped her and said, the purchasing person stopped her and said, I need to understand. Stop telling me that you're a printer. Stop telling me everything that you do. I just need to understand exactly what your special sauce is, which he was looking for the differentiator. Like, what problem do you solve? And she went into that whole spiel about how she does the custom stuff that nobody else is willing to do in the time that nobody else is able to do. And that grabbed his interest. But I always knew in the back of my mind that that's not making her money. So, but when she was caught and she had to do an explanation of what was her actual differentiator, that's the only differentiator that she knew. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation today, my Tuesday Tea Time Live, about this. And, if she reaches out to me, I will definitely have a conversation with her about this and give her some of my actual solutions that I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, let's take a step back. The differentiator, everybody knows that it's important. Everybody tells you to get it, and everybody thinks they have one. But let me tell you, years of service, quality, price, great team, amazing customer service, like, these are not differentiators because everyone else is saying them. So you cannot base this as a differentiator. And it's just, you hear everybody else saying it, whether in your industry or in every industry. So it's no longer a differentiator. But finding a differentiator for your business is really hard, because if you don't know how to do it, if you have not been trained in how to find a differentiator, like I have, and I was trained by large conglomerate, packaged goods companies that have so many similar products that they have to launch every single year to grow their top line and bottom line, that I was trained in how to differentiate each different product that was launched. If you don't have that specific training, and you don't luck into your differentiator, that all of a sudden you invent a Swiffer and nobody else has thought of it in the marketplace, unless you or some sort of technology that nobody's using, unless you're in that very lucky space, you have no idea how to differentiate your service or your business. So I'm here to talk to you about that and give you some insights. Now, why is it so important? Is because 86% of buyers already can't tell the difference between two suppliers who say they do the same thing. And everybody knows that. That's why it's so hard for especially commoditized businesses to unseat an existing incumbent that's inside, that is already doing the work for a large corporation. Some of the commoditized industries in B2B are staffing, IT, marketing companies, agencies. And then in B2C, anything from, it could be from water to, realtors, investment advisors. So when you have so much competition and nobody can tell what the difference is, you become what we call commoditized. So it's like, tap water. Everyone in the free world has access to drinkable tap water. So how do you go out and sell it for like $6, $10? And in some cases, I've even seen in the Trump Hotel, they sell it for $32, $62 when it comes in a crystallized bottle. So it is such a huge important thing, because your differentiator allows you to have more margin, make more money, and make a bigger impact, and be able to sell more. Otherwise, you're kind of like sitting dead in the water. You look like everybody else. So the problem of the negative profitability of this differentiator for the company, we would start from the beginning. If I were to help this company, we would first pick a real differentiator strategically, the way that I help all my clients do. So the way that it starts is, it's not dictated by what a client wants. It's not dictated by what you fall into or what you guess is a good differentiator. It's not dictated by a machine that you buy, because it can do that. It is dictated by what the market needs. So the beginning of the process to find your differentiator is to just look, we call it the blue sky exercise, where you just look at every industry that you could potentially help and every single problem that you can solve. And it's not about things. You don't sell printing, you don't sell widgets, you don't sell services, you solve problems. Even Pepsi, when I used to work for Pepsi, we used to solve a problem, and not just thirst, but it was belonging. And we understood the psychology of that, which is why our campaigns worked, which is why it still has such a huge market share, even though it's like hundreds of years old. So pick the differentiator strategically, do the blue sky exercise. I have a proprietary scoring that I do based on, what is the best fit for you, your background, your skill set, and your experience, and your culture. What does it fit, which industry, and what pain point do you feel most qualified to help with? And then we score the blue sky exercise with who could pay you the most amount that you want, which industry is willing to pay you the most, and then who do you have more of a reach into in any of these industries, with the number of people that you know there, but especially which industries would allow you more opportunity to connect with their decision makers or influencers. So you would look at, where do they gather? Do you have access to where they gather? You look at your personal database. Do you have personal access to any of those decision makers that you could mobilize your networks around to be able to talk to them, and so on. So we first do the blue sky exercise, where we map it all out, and then we go and we cull it down by asking actual human beings in the market that we know or can get introduced to, about validating the pain points that we think they have around what we can solve. So this is a very strategic, systematic, garbage in, garbage out. If you're not asking the right question in the right way, in the right methodology, that's over and over again, then you're not going to get the right answers, and you're not going to have a strategic understanding of what are some of the gaps in the market that you can position into, which are also called pain points and problems. Okay. So then once you've checked the viability of demand and the opportunity size of that super niche and whatever the industry is, then you market and position all of the messaging and all of your presence and all of your keynotes and all of your language around their pain language into that industry. You become everywhere that they are. It takes 7 to 12 touches now, according to research, for someone to buy from you. It's also 70% of the buying journey is done by mostly who are now millennial buyers and it's 70% of the purchasing decision is made before, and the journey is completed before they'll even call the company or a sales rep. So your job is to create content. It really, if there was nothing to convince you before that you need to have newsletters and articles and live videos like this that you can repurpose, any kind of presence in front of your target audience and where their eyes and ears are, this is the time to do it. And luckily, there are tools like AI that will help facilitate it, give you ideas on topics that they search, give you ideas on how to structure it, give you ideas on some of the things that you can say. Although I really, really recommend against having AI write your speeches for you. This is completely a demonstration right now of everything that I've known and done over the past, 30 years of my career. So that's the kind of distilling messaging that I want you to be able to put out there, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's not something that you're used to or want to do. But this is the journey. I know that when people, prospects are lining up to talk to me, they binge some of these videos. They binge all of my content. They want to know what kind of a person I am, what kind of wisdom that I have, and what the depth of my knowledge is in what different topics that I'm talking about. And in fact, I use all of these topics that I research and think about and put together every week as potential keynote speeches. My table topics for the conference were taken from a whole list of my Tuesday Tea Time live topics. So this is available for you, and you need to use that. And that's what true marketing is today, is to blog about and speak about and live stream about and do keynotes about and have visibility around the topic of pain, which is your differentiator. Okay. So use now the other side of this is what they can do. This company, the printer, is you can use a negative profitability, a dud differentiator, as a door opener. And we have heard that as well in some of our roundtables. Some of the companies there have mentioned that they've used either a loss leader, is what it's called, or they've given an actual complete discount for a time limited offer during the pilot of a starting to work with a new company. And it's the way that they gain entry. It's the way that they gain trust by actually doing the work and seeing how they're able to deliver on the promise and what the quality of the work is. And once they're in with they're known and they're liked and trusted, then they can start to sell some of the non-losing products and services, so they can cross-sell and upsell once they're in there. But it is risky, and it's better if you can negotiate from the start, just like how the discount, which was time limited offer, was part of the initial contract when going in. You can make the dud differentiator your loss leader and cap it at a certain price, or formulate the negotiations going into the company to say, but in year 2, you're going to purchase these additional services, which will then turn your profitability around. So that's the other option for actually using a dud differentiator. Another way to use your dud differentiator, if it's all that, and if it's really scoring you big clients and meetings and prospects and interest, is you look at your pricing or change either the application or the usage or the industry. So look at what are some of the ways that you can change what you're already doing to make it more profitable. Would another industry pay more for it? Would using the same machine on another department or another solution or another work be able to bring more profitability? Would you be able to increase the price for that exact same thing, but you're doing for a different department in the exact company, same company? So how can you turn that negative profit differentiator into another usage that will solve a more expensive problem? And then maybe another industry, as I said, is willing to pay more. So those are some of the ways that I know of how to turn dud differentiators into either loss leaders that are going to continue the work into large corporations, and then, or changing the structure and the way in which it's offered and to whom it's offered in a way that's going to bring you an actual positive cash flow and profitability. So Either way, differentiators are here to stay. Differentiators are key and crucial. And I want you to learn the strategic way to find your differentiator instead of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks, and finding when it doesn't stick that it's the only game in town and it's the only thing you have to actually still differentiate you, because you have no idea how to figure out your differentiator, especially in a commoditized industry. So I hope that was helpful. I am certainly recovering from a whole week of speaking and traveling, but I'm so grateful to have met so many new businesses, and hopefully have helped some of them along the way to get into more corporate decision maker sales meetings and to close more of them. I will see you next week. Take care.